This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1883, Comic Talk. Beady beady beat. Hey, ya buck. Welcome to the show. I'm Shane Kelly.
I'm Adam Murdo.
I'm Ian Levinstein.
And I'm Chris Eberly.
Alrighty. Welcome one and all to the show. It feels like it's been forever and a day since the four of us have all been gathered together.
It sure has.
Yes, it has. Well, welcome one and all to and it is indeed Comic Talk time here, and happy to be back in the neck of the world of comic conversation for the first time officially in 2023 outside of a preview. So excellent. And we will have plenty of stuff to discuss in this episode, including some news that broke today, which will greatly affect the world of digital comics moving forward.
Oh, God.
That I have to share with you, gentlemen.
Oh.
Yep.
I'll get back to that. I'm going to ask you a question once we get into it a little bit.
Good, because I have a feeling what you're going to ask me because I completely forgot to walk you through the process.
No, I did that. I got that handled. Yep, right, I figured that out, and I was good there. But something else related to digital comics was pissing me off.
All right, good. Then we're going to get there, right? Definitely, because we got to talk about that in spades. But we also have physical comics to discuss, and we have presents to open. We've got recent reads and recent watches. It'll be everything we can throw into a hat and more in this episode. I'm looking forward to it.
I'll be right back.
Okay. And while he is right back, I will thank you, the listeners, over at patreon.com/comicgeekspeak for your continued support of the show as we round out the beginning of this first month of the new year. All you patrons continue to throw your support towards Comic Geek Speak, and we thank you for it. For as little as $1 a month, you can become a patron of the show. And we do still have some stuff in the planning stages of potential pluses and bonuses we can throw patrons' way. So please do check that out and get ready for it. Well, for that matter, patreon.com/comic timing too. If you want to support me in the production of this and other shows, my own personal Patreon I'll throw in there. But the patreon.com/comic geek speak is the one that matters the most. We thank you so much for that continued support of the show. If you want to donate, just throw off a random donation. You can still do so at the website, comicgeekspeak.com, in the donation section, or just tell a friend. If you can't monetarily support us via a review or letting somebody know about the show. We really, really do greatly appreciate that. Just noticed a message here from Wayne Jones on the Comic Geek Speak Patreon. Just a note, I've really enjoyed your show over the years, especially the references to anything 70s. Love that era for comics and toys. All the best over the holidays. So throw that out there to patron Wayne Jones off the top of my head.
Wayne, I raised a 1970s era blue glass full of lemonade in your honor.
There you go. Yep. So patreon.com/comic geek speak. We thank you so much for that continued support.
Hear, hear.
Cool.
All right. So where do we begin, gentlemen? It has been a while. Let's get the news out of the way first. As this was just breaking as of today, and it's related to Comixology. And it's not exactly good news for a service that has been hit hard over the past year. It's being hit a little bit harder as Comixology just got hit by massive layoffs at Amazon. Digital comics platform is part of Amazon's plan to cut 18,000 jobs over the next couple of months. And this includes, long-standing members of the Comixology platform. People who were members of Comixology, or were part of the Comixology company even before its Amazon purchase, are unfortunately part of this layoff plan. There's some folks who were immediately laid off, and then there were others that were told that their jobs would be eliminated within the next few months. So not exactly looking too great over there in the world of Comixology.
Oh.
What is he building, another rocket ship?
Apparently. I don't know. The new version of Comixology was not exactly praised when it was merged with the existing, Kindle reading app, and we got this, Amazon-esque version of Comixology with a lot of the functionality thrown out of it. Ability to buy stuff directly on it taken out of it over time, and just the whole reading experience both on the web and on the app has just not been anywhere near up to snuff over the past couple of months. And this does not fill me with joy, gentlemen. This makes me think that things are just going to get worse instead of better, and I do not like that. So
what is the official explanation for this, Ian?
The official explanation is that Amazon is just looking to cut the fat more than anything else. That the company announced in early January that it intended to eliminate 18,000 roles beginning on January 18th. This is coming from Polygon.com, by the way. Workers across the company began receiving notice of layoffs on Wednesday, largely focused on the Amazon Stores division, which includes Comixology. I think a lot of it has to do with a combination of things, just the different experiences that exist within Amazon and also their retail division. As I know, they attempted to have an Amazon bookstore at one point, and a lot of those have closed over the past couple of months. So I really just feel like this is more like trying to bring everything closer knit together and, eliminate some jobs in the process. But it's not great when the program manager of Comixology has confirmed that he and numerous other staffers were affected by this. So Scott McGovern, who's been with Comixology almost since the beginning, is now going to be looking for work elsewhere.
Wow.
Yeah. So not great.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Comixology is the platform where you can find a lot of non-DC and Marvel comics, correct?
Yes, yeah, that is correct. Yep.
So will they continue to be hosted there, so to speak, or do you foresee changes in content and things like that as well?
I don't necessarily see changes in content unless they actually start going to companies and be like, "Hey, you're not doing well enough. You're off the service."
Yeah.
Which I don't see that happening. It's possible, yeah, but these deals are signed, almost in perpetuity. There have only been a couple of companies that have just straight up, cut their ties with Amazon/Comixology over the years. And it's either because they wanted to make their own app or they just wanted to, stay with the more independent digital distribution models that exist, either via Patreon or, the Kickstarter model or Humble Bundle as another source of revenue that a lot of companies have been using. As the deals that exist on Humble, they throw them up there, and then you can buy, like, for example, like Dynamite's had deals where you can buy like 100 comics and only spend like $30, and then you get access to all the PDFs you can want from that bundle and add it onto your digital device of choice, and it's yours forever. You don't have to worry about it being locked into an Amazon service or what have you.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily see them cutting content. I just see perhaps it being harder to find the content, and that itself presents a problem.
And I think there's also a good possibility of less maintenance.
Yes.
On the app.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which also ain't great because the app crashes.
Yeah.
The whole user experience of it all has significantly gone downhill, as I said, since they updated the app and made it, more streamlined. Like, I hate the fact that when you close out of a book, it's just sitting there on the bottom of the app until you open up a new one, even if you're done with that issue. It's just it's aesthetically strange. Yeah. And stuff like that just seems to be, par for the course these days, unfortunately, with the app that at one point was the premier way to get digital comics. And I'm starting to feel like it's not anymore, which is a damn shame, honestly.
Yeah.
What's also strange and unsettling, if I may, is that if you look at the picture of Murd, where Murd is, Santa has turned his back on him.
Yeah.
And I'm
Santa
not sure what that
stands
means.
alone.
He's got more important things. He's been there this whole time. Every time I've been podcasting from this seat, he's been there.
I haven't noticed it. Looks like he's micturating in the corner. All right.
Oh my God. Commiserating what's going to happen. Yeah. Clearly he himself was also having a violent night. Yeah, but Shane, I know we mentioned pre-show you had something digital you wanted to bring up.
So part of my problem with digital platforms in general is frustrating me, and I experienced it on my trip. So the DC app, which for the most part I love, I hate the organization of your downloaded content. I want to sort it by title or group, or you can't do it. You just download something, you kind of have to peck and hunt it.
Yep.
But also, and I didn't realize this until a previous weekend away or whatever, whatever you have downloaded, if you don't access it before you go offline, may not work because the license expired for that issue. And I'm like,
Oy.
I downloaded it a week ago. Why is it not working? But you have to kind of go online, connect to the internet, open the books, close them, disconnect, and then you're good, at least for a little while.
Right.
That's frustrating. But then there's the Marvel app, which I love the way it's organized. But every time I had to view offline downloaded content, I could maybe see the cover, and that was it. Nothing would ever open. So I spent all this time downloading crap that I could read and couldn't access most of it.
That's interesting because I've yet to have that experience with the Marvel app, but then again, I haven't done that in a while with the Marvel app. I've done it with the DC app, and my issues have loaded without any problem.
Yeah,
but I think it does have something to do with, again, how recently you downloaded it.
So if I was up Thursday and Friday downloading stuff, Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday we left. So it's not like it was weeks that had gone by. No matter when I tried that Marvel app, if I was not connected to the internet, that bugger would not open an issue. It would just spin. And I was going apeshit crazy.
When I can see Shane like the steam coming out of his
my
head.
God. I was fuming.
Steam whistle sound effect.
And it doesn't happen often because for the most part, wherever I am, I'm connected to the internet. And most times I'm reading, I'm at home. So it's not a big deal 90% of the time. But that other 10% that I'm just traveling around and trying to read something, man, it is hard.
Yeah.
And the apps are updated. The iOS is updated. Everything's good. It just won't open.
It's frustrating, and it's one of my problems that I more and more I use DC Infinite and Marvel Unlimited over Comixology, just because that's usually what I'm reading on the go. But obviously, if I buy something non-Marvel or DC, I'm going to want to read it in Comixology, sure.
Yeah.
But I have those problems too sometimes, where I'll go to read something that I've downloaded in Marvel or DC, and it doesn't want to play nice, and I don't have internet, and there's nothing I could do about it because I'm in a tunnel, or I'm on the train or what have you, and there's no way to get around it.
Yeah.
It's
frustrating.
Yep.
And I'm still lugging around paper copies.
And I do that. I don't want to take them on a trip.
I don't blame you.
So I was just downloading like crazy. I'm like, okay, I got to read one issue. Great.
I got to the point now where I'm tired of bringing paper copies with me, swearing to myself that I'm totally going to read them on my trip, and then I brought them and I don't ever get to them. So now I just bring the iPad for the most part, because enough bringing 4 trades with me and weighing down the luggage and then getting to them. It's like, whatever.
That's what I did too.
Yep. The unfortunateness of travel. However, speaking of travel,
I did. I got to travel. We took a week last week, which was the 8th to the 14th, I think it was, and took the family and we flew down to Disney. And for longtime listeners, people that know me, I do not fly. I do not like flying. I have not flown since 1996.
Holy mackerel.
However, I am going to have to fly in the near future a few times. And as the kids are older and I'm getting older, was more open to the idea of it, talked it over and decided that instead of driving down, which we did do 6 years ago, we drove down to Florida, the four of us in a car for 2 days. And it was a lot of fun. It was kind of old fashioned in that way. But we wanted to get the kids some experience. They had never been on a plane. So we decided to fly down, and it went fairly well. I was still nervous, but not panic stricken. I felt much better about it. So that
you weren't like Woody Allen on the airplane or anything.
No, I wasn't. There were times when we were landing in Florida, we're turning to vector in onto the runway, and as we turn and the plane kind of goes this way, I'm looking out the window and I'm like, yeah, I can look down on the roof. Nope, it's time to look this way. I close my eyes. I'm also
imagining Marge Simpson in that famous episode of The Simpsons where she freaks out on the plane and you just see the blue hair running back and forth. No,
it wasn't anything like that. But for the third time flying to Florida in my life, that was great. The return trip, turbulence. Oh,
I hate turbulence.
Oh my God, it drove me crazy.
Yeah.
Seatbelt light never went off again. That's the second time that happened. Now, for my all of 4 times flying, 3 of them to Florida, and every time coming home is terrible. Aggravating.
What airline did you fly?
American.
Okay.
And that was all fine. It was nice. Didn't have any problems with anything on the plane. And it was a newer plane, USB ports everywhere. It was LED lights that would, when we flew back, it was at night, and they had these nice kind of dark blue purple LED lights in the whole cabin that really looked nice. So it was comfortable.
So Shane, when you fly in the future, a friendly tip, you never want to go on United. Because they dehumanize you, because the seat in front of you is like this in front of your face. And I hate flying too. I mean, I do it frequently, but not frequently, but often throughout my life. JetBlue, much better service. Much better service.
I flew Spirit down and back this last time, and this is going to be the last time because. I mean, you want to talk about being packed in like a sardine.
Yeah.
It's not even necessarily that the seats are uncomfortable. For one thing, they can't go back. So I do appreciate that, but that's how close you are to the next seat.
Yeah.
It's just, they're the hardback type of seats. So I'm pretty sure that's what this is my old man talking here. I'm pretty sure that's what reactivated my sciatica for the first time in a while.
Sure.
Like, by the time I was off, I was like, something ain't right here. And yeah, not the best experience of my life.
Yeah. No, we were at least wing to the front. So we had 6 extra inches in front of us, which was nice. That helped some non-claustrophobic feelings, because even with the one seat on the way down, the woman in front of me had reclined, but I didn't feel like it was in the way or anything. I still had plenty of room.
Good.
So I just threw on a couple TV shows and a movie and was happy as a clam for a while.
How did the boys react to their first trip by plane?
So Ben, you would not even know that he was anywhere. He could have cared less. He was perfectly fine. For a first time flying ever, I would have thought he was a little nervous. Nope, didn't even bat an eye. Matt was a little bit more nervous, much like I would have been if I would have been kind of forced to fly. And we sort of forced him to fly because we said, well, this is the only way we're going. But he did fine. And once the first trip down happened, he was much better on the way back, because he knew kind of what to expect. In the beginning, when you're taxiing and the wings are getting adjusted and you hear the hydraulics go, and he's like, "Oh my God, what's that?" And I'm like, "It's nothing. It's the plane. It's normal." And then we take off and we're elevating, and you hear the landing gear go up, and he's like, "Oh my God, what's that?" I'm like, "It's landing gear. You're fine. You want to hear those noises. It's okay." But no, it was fine. It worked really well. Nice. So I'm happy to say that I have flown for the first time since 1996.
Wow.
And that last time was my honeymoon, which we went down to Disney, and it was Disney's 25th anniversary then. So I had always wanted to go back down for our 25th wedding anniversary and Disney's 50th.
Yep.
And then the pandemic hit and lasted all through 2021 for the most part. So we couldn't really go. But then Disney extended the 50th anniversary for over a year.
Yep.
So we decided to try and get down before the 50th ended, and did some research. And I told the guys before the show started that the week we went is statistically the least attended week of the whole year. The weather was nice. It got a little cold the one night, which was bumming me out, which is how I got the Mickey Mouse sweatshirt. And Sorcerer Mickey is my favorite. And this is actually a hat that they have out for this 50th anniversary vault thing, but this is actually a 25th anniversary design. So I picked that up because finding Sorcerer Mickey stuff to wear is almost impossible right now, it seems. But yeah, we went through Magic Kingdom, Epcot, and Hollywood Studios. So I got to visit Star Wars Land for the first time. And I've watched videos of walkthroughs and all the rides. So I kind of knew what was going to happen. But it was really something to see it in person.
Were you able to get on both rides?
We did.
Great.
We did. So 6 years ago when we went, you could buy your ticket to get in the parks, and then you got, I think it was 2 fast passes that you could use at any time. And as you used one, you could book something else. And you could make a cohesive plan around the park by just rotating your passage. You use it, you book, and you can just keep going. And it worked great. It's completely different now. You have to buy the Genie Plus, and then you have to buy the lightning lane thing for that day, which is frustrating because you can only book one thing at a time.
Yeah.
And sometimes the times were not conducive to when you were planning to go in a park. And then some rides don't even offer the lightning lane. They offer an individual pass, which is another $15 for the one ride, which is how we did end up having to do Rise of Skywalker, because the entire week we were there, it was not part of the lightning lane daily thing that you could get. And the wait time was at minimum 2 hours at any given time. And that ride tends to break down quite a bit. So when it got to Thursday, we talked about, I'm like, look, I'm just going to buy it because I want to get on the ride, which we did. And it was spectacular.
Yeah.
So much fun. The first thing we did earlier in the week was Smuggler's Run. I got to say, it was fantastic. I ended up, and Carlene ended up being the pilots.
Oh, cool.
Which was disastrous because we crashed a hell of a lot, but it was still fun. But I got to say, the first 30 seconds to a minute, I thought I was going to throw up. It was just because of how it moves. It's so much more, and not in a negative way, but it's so much more violent than Star Tours. And while trying to pilot and hold on without falling out of the chair and looking up at the screen, which is, again, the whole cockpit, so you're surrounded. Yeah. It really did look spectacular. But that first minute, I really felt nauseous. But it was a spectacular ride. And then to just wander around Black Spire Outpost was magnificent. We did do a couple little shopping things. I love the flea market that's there, and some of the stuff was surprisingly not that expensive compared to other Disney kind of souvenirs. So I have such an affinity for R2-D2 in particular that I picked up this wood carving action figure of C-3PO and R2-D2, and they move and do stuff, but they're all wood carved, so that it's supposed to look handmade. But I thought they looked great, so I added a unique R2-D2 to my R2-D2 collection, and C-3PO is just there for the ride. The bad thing not bad, but the thing that did frustrate me, I was looking for just some kind of cool T-shirt, sweatshirt, something to buy Star Wars related there. And even Mickey Mouse, this Mickey Mouse sweatshirt was really hard to find. There's really not much there at all that's normal, like just a character, just a comic cover or something. It is all crazy kind of designs, and they look nice, but I would never wear them outside of just going to the park. So I couldn't find anything really interesting to buy in that capacity. Not that I needed to buy something everywhere I went, but I was just looking for something kind of cool that you could only find there. We did plan, part of the boys' Christmas present was to build lightsabers. And Matt was really excited about it. Ben was less so. So he ended up not really caring to do it at all. So I ended up doing it. And I built a lightsaber.
Nice.
I built it with a green crystal in it. But then of course, the workshop, as you can imagine, they have plenty of stuff to buy. So I bought a yellow one, a white one, and a red one, because you can change them and change the color. So Matt has a purple one in his that he built when he did it. I have a green one. I already had an Obi-Wan Kenobi blue one. So now we have kind of one of every color, and we can interchange them. So I took the green one out and have that stored in the yellow canister. And part of why I wanted the yellow one is partially because the original Luke Skywalker action figure had a yellow lightsaber,
right. The little,
which was never in the movie. The very first lightsaber toy I had was 1978 by Kenner. It was a black flashlight with a yellow filter that went into a blow up blade that you would just whack against things.
I had that. Yep.
So, that's why I really wanted a yellow crystal in it. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And again, Carlene asked me afterwards, knowing that I had never intended to build one. I didn't need it because I liked the Obi-Wan one that I had. Yeah. But she did say, afterwards, she goes, so what'd you think? Because they went in with us. So Matt and I are building, and Ben and Carlene are behind us taking pictures and whatnot. And Carlene said, what do you think? And I said, I'm not going to lie, island ear to ear. It was a really neat experience. We would have loved to have built a droid. That's what Ben really wanted to do, but he never said anything, so we had no idea. So if we ever go again in the next couple of years, we'll get him to be able to build a droid. And you can build like a BB-8, an R2 unit, an R5 unit, whatever, and do different things with it. Right. Saturday morning, the day that we were leaving, we did had back in November when we were making food reservations. Mm-hmm. We did book some time in the cantina. So at 9:30 in the morning, we're at the cantina ordering drinks, and I ended up with a fuzzy tauntaun, which numbs your lips and tongue a little bit. It was really good, but I had a blast. You have 45 minutes in there. It's not like you can hang out there all day because everybody would, mm-hmm. and nobody would ever leave.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we got put. You don't really have a choice of where you're going. They bring you in, and you can see like the alcoves where Han and Luke and Chewie and Obi-Wan talked. But I kind of thought that would have been cool. But where Ian threw up a picture of the cantina, where the guy in the middle in the orange kind of is, mm-hmm. around the far side of the bar, that's kind of where we ended up. And we had a great time talking to the bartenders. Looking at all the neat stuff that was around the bar. We had a charcuterie board that we were snacking on while we were having a couple drinks, and it was just a whole lot of fun. It was a blast.
Yeah. This picture is when I went back in, I think, when was that? Like maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. And at that point, that was right before the second Star Wars ride had opened. So Smuggler's Run was the only one open at that point. So it was actually a lot easier to get around there because people were not showing up yet because they were waiting for the second ride to be open. So we were able to just walk into the cantina and sit down and had a great time.
That's cool. Yeah, we just had an absolute blast. And then we got to see Pixar Land for the first time, and that was a lot of fun. Nice. The Toy Story Mania game, which I think was the only thing open 6 years ago when we went, because we didn't think we were on it, but once we got on it, we kind of remembered doing it before, and I'm like, oh, well, it had to be open back then. Mm-hmm. That was a lot of fun. Star Tours, we went on twice and had some new footage that was after Rise of Skywalker, and then the second time was more traditional kind of settings from the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. So that was a lot of fun.
There's like, what was it, like 45 different
it's insane. Yeah. It's insane the different combinations you can ride that with now. But I did notice it's shorter. They snipped out a few things mm-hmm. that were standard any other time.
Yeah.
We did go to one thing I wanted to do was go to Epcot and have dinner in France because I love escargot and not the easiest thing to come by around here. Mm-hmm. So we got to do that. We had crepes in France for breakfast one morning, which was fabulous.
Nice.
We rode the Ratatouille ride, which was a ton of fun.
That was great.
It's amazing what that ride does.
Yeah.
And as much as I hate flying, the only thing I hate almost as much is roller coasters.
Oh,
and
shame.
Yet Carlene and the boys encouraged me, and I rode Guardians of the Galaxy in Epcot.
Yes.
which was phenomenal. Even though the picture that we have from it looks like I'm terrified, which I was. But the part where they took the picture, that's some of my favorite parts. I loved it.
What was it? What was the song that you wrote to?
Let's see. It was one of them was. It was hard to hear because you could hear the characters in your headphones, and the music was out in the world. Yeah. In the building. Gosh, what was it? I want to say one of them was Everybody Wants to Rule the World.
Yeah, that's one of them. Yep.
Which is when I watched a video of it and I heard that, I'm like, well, maybe I really do want to ride it because I love that song. It was a great experience, and it helped me that it was inside and infinitely dark, so it just looked like infinite space.
Yep.
But at some point in the ride, I think it happened twice, you kind of go in a corkscrew and you're circling a planet that is stationary and lit up. I did turn away and close my eyes then because I could fixate on that and tell just how fast I was going, and I really didn't want to. So until I felt the corkscrew end, I kept my eyes closed just for that little bit.
So Shane, you did not go on Space Mountain then?
I didn't this time, but I have been on Space Mountain before.
Guardians honestly is a lot like Space Mountain.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, it just has the enhanced elements and the music and the track layout's a little bit different, but it's a similar experience.
I definitely think it's bigger than Space Mountain.
It absolutely is. Yeah.
And then afterward, Carlene said she had read that you're a story below, and the height is like 3 stories that you're going up at its highest, lowest. There's like 6 drops, which there were because I could feel them. There's a neat in the beginning part where you flip around backwards and shoot off, which that's where they took the picture and it looks like I'm terrified, but I loved it. That was my favorite part. It was a neat experience. And again, it helped that it was dark and I couldn't see anything. Now, my son, who was sitting aside of me, my younger one, he is of the mind that his arms are up and he's screaming the whole time. Well, at one point he whacks me in the head and I'm like, put your arm down. You just hit me. But of course he couldn't hear me. But Carlene, who was in front of me, she heard me. She's like, I thought I heard you yell at Matt. I'm like, yeah, he hit me in the head. Thank God I took my glasses off or else I'd have lost them.
Damn.
But it was a lot of fun. I'm glad I wrote it. At that time, I don't know that I could have ridden it again, even in that week. Not that that would have been easy because it's hard to get on that ride to begin with. But maybe if I go down again and it's there, I could probably get on it again. But it was fun. And I'm glad I could say that I not only flew down, but I rode a roller coaster, which I hate both of those things. But it was cool. It's worth going on if you can do it.
Shane, you were an intrepid adventurer on this trip.
Yeah,
I sure was.
I will 100% back you up on that. It was such a great experience on the Guardian. Yeah, not only the ride itself, but just the
queue is amazing.
The queue is amazing. The story behind it makes a stupid amount of sense, even in the Marvel universe.
Yep.
You're dealing with like celestials and eternity and it's excellent.
Yeah, it was really neat to see it all. Like in that way, I wish it went slower because I think it's going at like 60 miles an hour.
It's pretty fast.
I wish it was a little slower so you could take in some of that because I would have liked to have seen some of that. So I want to go back and find the video that I watched on YouTube and watch it again a couple times just to be able to see the stuff that's going on around you.
By the way, the 6 songs that you have the potential of getting when riding it are September by Earth, Wind and Fire, Disco Inferno.
Is that the one, the 21st night? We did not have that one.
Yeah.
There he is. There he is.
So here's the thing about that song. The whole entire first line is the 21st night of September, which is our wedding anniversary. Yet we had no clue that line was in there because we didn't even use it for our wedding. and we just learned this like 4 years ago, and we're looking at each other going, why the hell didn't we use that? Oh my God. We felt stupid. So yeah, if we would have heard that on the ride, we'd have talked about it.
That would have been amazing. Yeah. Disco Inferno by the Tramps.
Very Philly.
I think we heard that one.
Conga by Gloria Estefan. Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears.
Definitely heard Everybody Wants to Rule the World.
I Ran by A Flock of Seagulls.
Oh, maybe that one too.
And One Way or Another by Blondie.
Wow.
Maybe every one of them did go through because I kind of remember hearing all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a 4-minute ride.
Yeah, you'll get one song throughout the ride, and then as you're leaving, you'll get a different song like as you're walking to the end.
Yeah. So, well, it was cool. It really is. It really was worth it.
Yep.
As much as I'm frustrated with Disney's nickel and diming you to get on these rides, because there's 4 ways to do it now. You have the standby lane, which is just normal walk up and can take hours.
Yeah.
You have the lightning lane pass that you have to buy every day, and you have to get up and do it at like 6:30 in the morning, so that at 7, when the app refreshes, you can get on something that's hard to get on. So if we were out till midnight, I'm still getting up early. Yep. You had the virtual queue, which is how we got on the Guardians, and that's the only way you could get on it the whole week. And then you have the individual lightning pass for rides that they don't open the regular lightning lane daily pass for. Thank God that I knew somebody from my work that works in the Florida office down there. He met up with us Sunday night and was taking us through Magic Kingdom and explaining all of this Genie Plus Magic Pass, Lightning, whatever. So that helped a lot.
Yeah.
So by Tuesday, we had it kind of down what needed to be done, but it was frustrating in that way. So as much as that part's frustrating, the way to the amount of immersive technology used for all of these rides is just phenomenal now.
It is.
And yet classics like Pirates of the Caribbean, I got to go on that 4 times, which I love that ride. I got to do Haunted Mansion a few times.
Nice.
We went on Peter Pan, It's a Small World, Little Mermaid, The Living Land, Living Seas, whatever it's called in Epcot. The Ratatouille was amazing. We went into Mexico and rode the 3, Caballeros?
3 Caballeros.
Yeah. Caballeros, which we didn't get to do last time we were down. So we really did hit everything that I was hoping we'd hit, and so much more. I took my iPhone and I made a note, and I have every single thing we did on the trip written out.
Did you do Tower of Terror?
I did not do Tower of Terror. I do not like Tower of Terror. I don't like opening up and seeing it and then dropping. But the little drop in Rise of Skywalker, that was okay. I could do that again without blinking an eye. And funny story, and Carlene needles me about it every now and then. When we were on our honeymoon, Tower of Terror had been open. I don't think it was open very long in 96. And she wanted to go on it. So like, I think almost every Disney ride, you can wait with anybody through the queue. You can go in and watch all that cool stuff. And then when it comes to the ride, if you don't want to ride, you get out.
Yep.
There's always a way out. So we get up there in Tower of Terror and we're waiting, and she's like thinking I'm going to go on, and it gets to that point and it says exit. I'm like, all right, see you later. And she's like, are you really leaving? I'm like, yep. And out I went, and I went down and waited, and I heard her scream as she's dropping down. And then she came out and I'm like, how you doing? But yeah, I totally ditched her before the ride started. There was not a chance in hell. Yeah. So that's a funny story that gets told quite often.
Very cool.
But yeah, it was a great trip, and I'm glad we got to go. Summertime trips are very hard for us. The kids work. There's activities, going back to school. This just seemed to make more sense, and I'm so glad we did it this time.
Yeah,
at this time, it really worked well.
Speaking of Guardians, I realized we never discussed the Christmas special.
No, we did not. Yeah, it's exactly the type of holiday fun that I got from the Halloween special. Honestly,
I thought it was a hoot and a half.
Yeah. Holy I wanted it to be longer. It ended too quick.
I know. Kevin Bacon, man. Kevin Bacon.
What a trooper Kevin Bacon is.
Yeah, you're not kidding. It was a lot of fun.
He was well compensated for his time.
Oh, I'm sure he was.
Sure he was.
Absolutely.
But I even like that they got Kira Sedgwick to do a little bit of a voice thing when he's talking on the phone. It was,
I've come to appreciate between the Guardians work and then seeing him in Glass Onion, what a charismatic actor Dave Bautista has become.
Oh yeah,
and the range he's beginning to demonstrate as an actor too.
Glass Onion, I love that. That was
Glass Onion. I've seen 3 times now.
Yeah, me too.
I saw it once in theaters. I saw it once when I was in Florida when Martha's mom wanted to give it a watch, and I just watched it for the 3rd time this last weekend, and it's just as fun every single time. It's
even knowing everything. I was still having a blast.
I agree.
Watching it.
Yeah, I've seen it twice myself.
Yep.
But at the Guardian special, I love how they showcased Mantis and how hilarious she was. The scene with the money and the bar and the self, it was really well written and really funny. It was a real delight to watch.
It really looked like they were having a good time doing it.
Yeah,
and it showcased characters that while they've gotten time, haven't necessarily been the stars of Guardians of the Galaxy, before this. We got a little bit of Mantis, but we didn't get a lot, and even like character reveals that I hope will actually have some sort of ramification down the road, like finding out that Mantis is Peter Quill's
half sister.
Half sister.
Yeah, half sister. Exactly. Yeah.
Like, spoilers.
I mean, not that it really affects much, but it's a nice throw in there.
Yeah.
Have we seen Cosmo the space dog at any point before this?
Yeah, he was inside the one cage inside the collector's
his menagerie
lair.
Okay. So just a cameo.
And then at the end of that, he did walk past Howard the Duck, I think, in one of the extra credit scenes.
Yeah. In Guardians 2, he's out of the cage and he's a little bit more, obvious. Yeah. But he hasn't been like a main character before.
Yeah, nothing like what happened in the special.
No, definitely not. I also highly appreciate now, I guess, teenage Groot. Chris
has been appreciating teenage Groot all along.
and that it was mostly man in suit from the
look. Yeah, that surprised me too.
Yeah. Good touch.
Was it still Vin Diesel doing the voice?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. But throwing in even further that Christmas special flair by having it be man in suit rather than full CGI for Groot was
They could have used stop motion puppetry.
Well done, Murray.
Yep.
A little bit of animagic.
We did get some old school animation in the beginning.
Oh yeah, Michael Rooker.
Just no claymation or anything like that.
Yeah. No, but I really enjoyed it. I was very pleased.
Yep.
I wanted to bring up, since I'm talking about multimedia. I finished watching Andor last night.
Oh.
Yep. I just watched episode 2 last night.
Okay. All right. Well, then I won't spoil it, but Ian, Shane, you finished it, correct?
I have not even started.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Jeez.
All I'll say.
Yeah.
Shane, I think you're probably going to agree with me based on our previous discussions. This is some of the most gripping storytelling in the entire Star Wars universe to date.
I agree.
And basically, if you liked what they were doing in Rogue One, which is exploring the real cost of the rebellion to regular people, and the sacrifices people have to make, this series just takes that theme and, oh my God, they run with it to I mean, a whole nother level. I mean, and Shane mentioned this, and in watching it, I agree with him. I think no movie or show to this point has shown really the extent of how cruel and brutal the Empire really is. Like
almost sadistic.
Yeah, you always know that, but like you really see its effect now on just regular people.
Yeah.
I got to tell you guys, it's Tony Gilroy, man. Keep writing, keep doing this stuff, because it is. And that Shane, that last episode, the tension in that last episode, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
This is. I'm actually in awe of how good the show is. Like it is for me one of the best things they've done ever with the Star Wars property.
Not every character gets a finite ending in the episodes.
Okay.
I mean, there's some danglers out there for what's going to happen next. Very well done. Very slow build. You got to be patient.
You do have to be patient.
Such
and
a payoff.
Well worth it. And it also really emphasizes, again, without spoiling anything, the people who decide to participate in various facets of the rebellion. The cost to their own souls.
Oh yeah.
Like you see characters do things in the show that are frankly awful. And you get a sense of that in Rogue One too. But they go obviously into much more depth with it. And like there are characters who are rebels who they're not great people.
No, they're not nice people at all.
They have to do like awful things.
Yeah.
Which is what, when you study like history and so like resistance movements and like all the terrible things that people would do, like this is a great show. Like it's superb.
Well, I fully plan on getting to it, and because Rogue One is one of my favorite Star Wars movies, and
same here.
It gets better and better every time I see it. Yep.
Yeah. I have to have the time to. I know I'm going to want to binge it, so I will have to devote an actual full solid 2 days of just going through the whole darn thing. And sitting myself down, because I know once I start watching it, I'm not going to want to stop.
And with Andor, I would watch the episode kind of the day or the day after it was released, and then I would watch it the night before the next release. So I would get 2 viewings of the episode, just so I would catch things that I missed the first time before the next episode ran. And it really paid off. I really thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, and also one of the things that really struck me was they really emphasized the scope and size of the Empire, and how just small everybody is, and how anybody making any kind of gesture of defiance or resistance, how incredibly dangerous that is.
Yeah.
I mean, without giving too much away, there's one scene where you see a captive is tortured.
Oh yeah, repeatedly,
and they don't they show you the consequences on the character's psyche from that, experiencing that. You think about Darth Vader going into Leia's chamber with the droid and all that, and they shut the door. Yeah, they don't shut the door here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you and one other thing I'll say, and Shane, they take you into an Imperial prison.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, is it awful?
Oh my gosh.
It is terrifying.
And
it's really
you
good.
find just how hopeless it is.
Yeah, it's soul crushing how hopeless it is. It's great stuff.
It's those episodes in the prison are some of the most phenomenal in all of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Have you enjoyed the first 2 that you've seen, Mert?
I can see what they mean by a slow build.
Oh yeah, the first 2 are very slow.
They're slow. They're slow.
And to a certain extent, I wondered why they even had them, but by the end of the series, it really does pay off.
No, you understand why they're
going through that.
Yeah. It's the storytelling. It's compromised a bit by the fact that it's intercut with flashbacks to Andor's childhood, which is a little confusing, and it slows the pacing up a bit. But
it does.
Every confidence it's going to get better and more intense by the end.
Okay.
I just need to find the time to watch it.
Yeah.
Speaking of finding the time, did you finish She-Hulk?
Yes. I did ultimately finish She-Hulk. And, my opinion suffered a bit for the second half of the season, I have to admit.
Yeah.
Why is that?
The episodes were better than the last few episodes. Things got really full bore meta there in that last episode, and
they sure did.
I know that it's not in any way inconsistent with the way the character has been used in the comics in the past, in the breaking of the fourth wall and whatnot. But I just found it a little annoying. To me, in this context, it felt less like they were doing something fun with the character and more like we didn't know how to end this, so we're just going to do this.
I disagree.
I see Mert's point. I still loved it though, because it just felt so much like the book, especially the burn period.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what I really enjoyed in those last episodes was the yellow garb Daredevil.
Yes.
And how they had Matt Murdock being a more sort of cheerful, light character because he's in that yellow costume, which reminds you of a more Silver Age time.
Absolutely.
And of course, the Walk of Shame.
Oh my God.
I'm just sorry that he had to get his costume from that obnoxious character that outfitted Shulky.
Agreed, especially when his previous costumes came from a much more Daredevil, centric character.
Yeah.
I feel you. Yep. Yeah.
I'd like to see that guy meet Melvin Potter in a dark alley sometime.
Although my favorite part of, talk about how meta that last episode is, once they introduced the Feige bot, that was yeah, Kevin is just next level. You got me. All right, fine. I was so on it until Kevin was introduced, and then from there, I'm game. Send it up.
Do you know if they're renewing that, Ian?
It's renewed from what I'm aware of.
Okay, good.
I don't know if it's gotten the official season 2 nod, but all things point to yes on that one. Speaking of season 2's coming soon. Loki season 2 has begun its essential advertising campaign. No trailers have been released as of yet, but it's been part of like Disney Plus's like upcoming package.
Good.
So that and Secret Invasion are the next two Disney Plus Marvel shows to be coming out.
And Quantumania is going to have a huge impact on that.
And I was just going to ask, has everybody seen the second of the Quantumania trailers?
Yep.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Kang.
Yep.
He looks a lot more like Kang here.
He sure does.
Than he did in Loki.
Sure does.
Yeah. Well, technically, he wasn't Kang.
No.
That's true.
You're
That's
right.
True. That's true. That's true.
You're right.
I'm interested to see how. I mean, they don't call it the microverse, but that's what it is.
Mhm.
I'm interested to see, because it's obvious they're really going to explore that now and show us, various beings living there, and you're like, are they going to show us the Micronauts? They probably won't, but I'll clutch to that hope until the movie comes out.
I'm with you there, Chris. I think we'll at least see the ones that Marvel owns.
I would hope so.
Yeah. I would think so too, because I there's no reason not to, because they're theirs. There's the only reason that they wouldn't is if they were already tied up with another film property that they didn't have the rights to, and I don't think that ever happens. So there's
they have the rights to the characters that Bill Mantlo created, not the ones that were toys.
Correct.
So.
Yep. Yeah. No, it looks like it's going to be great. I have my tickets for that Thursday night. So I will be seeing it at my local theater immediately after work that day. I am not going to allow myself to be spoiled by anybody. So Thursday night, baby.
We'll have to do a good old fashioned official review of it afterwards.
I have to look into that and see about getting tickets.
Yep. No question about it. Before we get into comics we've read, I wanted to touch on another piece of media that I've seen.
Please.
Two pieces of media. Have any of you watched Hunters on Amazon Prime?
No.
Is that with Al Pacino?
Yes, it is.
I saw the first episode.
So season 2 just launched not too long ago. And it's the reason I bring it up is that it's actually kind of comic relevant when you think about it, because what was Jack Kirby? Jack Kirby at one point in his life was a Nazi hunter.
Well, he was a soldier in World War II.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he basically made it his mission, before he came back to the world of comics to, hunt down as many Nazis as he could, basically. And this is a group of Nazi hunters that was brought together by Al Pacino's character. It's incredibly grindhouse at times. I love the VHS-esque cover that we have here for season 2 with even like
who is the artist on that cover? Do we know?
I am not entirely.
Looks like the guy who did the Preacher covers.
Yeah, it does look a little bit like that. But
Glenn Fabry, I think his name was.
Yeah, Fabry. I don't know if it is, but I'm just.
That could be. There's also a tie-in comic I haven't actually read yet that I'm going to have to do, which I think ties in between seasons 1 and 2. But Josh Radnor from How I Met Your Mother is in the cast of this. Of course, let me get the full cast, because honestly, the amount of people that are in this that have never really been in shows like this before surprised me. Kate Mulvaney shows up as Sister Harriet and does a great job. Jennifer Jason Leigh is a member of the season 2 cast and does a terrific job.
Great actor.
Logan Lerman plays the main character of the whole thing, and does a very fine job along the way. But my favorite part is Carol Kane.
I was wondering if that was her.
Inca Doblitz herself, eh?
Indeed. Yep. This time playing the role of Mindy Markowitz, whose husband is Saul Rubinek in the first season. Murray Markowitz. They're a husband and wife Nazi hunting team with Al Pacino at the front, playing a character named Meyer Offerman as they tried to stop the ascension of the Fourth Reich.
And this takes place, it is in the 70s, isn't it?
This takes place in the 70s, yes.
So a lot of Nazi war criminals are still alive because it's only 30 years after the war, yeah.
Lena Olin plays a character called the Colonel, and she's heading the ascension of the Fourth Reich in America. Season 2 is more global. I'm not going to spoil why season 2 is more global and what they're trying to find. But once you get to that reveal at the end of the first season, you're like, okay, so we're going full Tarantino. I'm down.
That's always music to my ears. I watched the first episode a while ago. I really enjoyed it. Never got back to it, but
it's really, really well done stuff.
But see, Ian, you mentioned Saul Rubick, and now I think of True Romance. You stab me in the heart. Sorry.
Nice.
One of the greatest overacting of all time.
Oh, absolutely. And I used to love him on Warehouse 13 too. That was a sci-fi show that ran for a bunch of years, and he did a great job on that.
It was enjoyable. I like that series.
Yep. The other thing that I saw, and I don't know if the others, if the rest of you saw it, but I did see that blue sequel that came out, Avatar: The Way of Water.
Nope, I didn't see that yet. I didn't see the first one, really.
I have to be honest with you, Ian. I had the misfortune of seeing the first Avatar in a very hot, overcrowded theater wearing those ridiculous glasses.
Oy.
And I mean, I like a lot of James Cameron's movies immensely, but for me, it was just like, oh, it's Pocahontas or Dances with Wolves with a lot of effects. I was bored silly.
I'll tell you this much. I did not like the first one either.
Okay.
I thought Dances with Smurfs could have been done a lot better than it was. But I went into this with zero expectation, and I saw it in 3D. I did not see it in the hyper special 3D they're doing with like mixed frame rates where like 1 minute it's 60, the next minute it's 30, 1 minute 60, 1 minute 30. Like I wasn't going to do that because I knew I was going to throw up. But I just saw it in plain old 3D at a theater by me. And I actually shockingly enjoyed myself. Significantly more than I thought I was going to. And I honestly think even you may feel the same way, Chris, once you do eventually sit down and see it. I'm not saying you have to see it in theaters, but obviously that's the scope of it all. It's very much a theater watch. So perhaps if you're free on a random, like middle of the week day where you don't have work or whatever, and you want to sit down for a matinee while it's still showing, by all means. But it's
Levy Pooh, I highly value your opinion.
Oh, so I know
that. There's possibilities now.
Just dislike the first one, like the second one a lot more. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I'm saying it has a story and a plot, and that immediately makes it better than the first one.
Okay.
But it's even the ways that there's machinations where characters that you thought were gone in the first one are back in this one, and it makes sense that they're back. And I'm not going to explain how or why that makes sense, but overall, I think it's a much better movie, and well worth people's time.
Well, and to tie that into stuff that's in Disney, we did contemplate trying to get on that Avatar ride that's down there.
I was going to say, yeah.
I'm glad I didn't, because after watching a video on it, I don't know that I could have handled that one. It looks spectacular, but that's a little bit more immersive than what I was ready to do that week.
You know what, Shane? I would actually compare it to Smuggler's Run, though.
Yeah, and
it's almost the exact same ride, only one of them's blue and one of them isn't.
Well, and I think even Smuggler's Run, you're a little bit shielded by being in the cockpit of the Falcon. Right. Here, you're out in the open, and everything is around you, and it looks phenomenal. But I don't know if I could have done that.
You quite literally get onto one of those like bike animals that they ride in the first Avatar, and that's what you're on, and you're
strapped in, but
you're strapped in, and your head is front and center on everything that's going on, and it's
this massive screen, and you're right there. It looks incredible, but I don't know if I could have done it.
I waited over an hour for that thing when I wrote it the one time that I did, because that was back when they weren't doing fast passes for it. And actually, no, I'm sorry, they were fast passes, but they of course all sold out within the first like 8 seconds.
Yeah.
Still doing fast passes, so we waited online for it.
I think if I would have gotten into there, I would have seen that mechanism, and I'd have looked around and went, I don't know about this.
Some of the best food in all the parks though is at the Avatar section, because they have a whole Asian inspired food at the Avatar kiosks and what have you.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah, but that's like I said, way better than I was expecting, and actually maybe even good. Maybe.
Okay. Not a ringing endorsement, but hopeful.
Yeah, definitely a
Better
ring.
than nothing.
Oh, better than nothing. And you know what else is better than nothing? This.
Just even crack those knuckles. Damn! I got to chill.
Yes, indeed. It is in time once again for Muddle the Murd here at Comic Geek Speak. And Murd will tell you all about what the heck this is.
Well, what the heck this is, folks, is our on-air trivia contest, where you, the listeners, get to submit trivia questions for me, the Murd, to attempt to answer. So they're comics trivia questions. You'll need to come up with a trio of questions, one Marvel, one DC, one related to comics from some other publisher. They also need to break down chronologically to one question about comics pre-1970, one about comics published between 1970 and 2000, inclusive, and one about comics published after 2000. Come up with those three questions, type them up in an email, include the answers to each question, please, and do please try to avoid questions that are actually two questions in one. I mean, you can ask questions that have a multi-part answer, but don't ask two or three different questions and try to pass it off as a single question, because we'll find you.
Yes.
So do that. Send it to comicgeekspeak@gmail.com with Muddle the Murd in the subject line. Ian, the Quizmaster, will find them there. He'll put them into a special folder, and then he will dip into that folder when the time comes, as the time has come now. He will ask me the three questions you have submitted, and if I answer all three of them incorrectly, you will have muddled the Murd, and you'll be entitled to a fabulous prize mailed to you at the expense of the Murd himself.
Indeed. Yep. And we are still running low on Muddle the Murd submissions. So please get those submissions in as we only have a couple left in the queue. So if you've been thinking about attempting to Muddle the Murd, now is your chance. You probably only won't have to wait about 3 or 4 months for it to show up. So just you keep that in mind. And what is the prize du jour?
Well, we are still trying to give away the prize donated by Chris Eberly here. It's one of the Reckless series of original graphic novels by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. This one is called The Ghost in You.
Excellent.
All right. Substitutes.
It's a hardcover. It's still shrink-wrapped.
Amen to that. All righty. Well, this particular muddle attempt comes from Timo Pekonen. And Timo starts off with this. Hello, Comic Geek Speakers. I am 0 for 1. Time to try again. And his try begins in pre-1970 Marvel.
Okay. I'm going to bring my A game here, because if I'm not mistaken, if I am muddled here, I might be mailing something to Finland. So
I think you might be right. All right, let's see.
One of the greatest countries on earth.
It's the country where I quite want to be.
In issue 30 of Daredevil, guest starring the mighty Thor, a duo team of super-powered menaces rob a bank. Mr. Nelson reads from the Daily Bugle, 2 sets of footprints were found outside the building. One set was normal-sized, but the other enormous. The normal-sized footprints are of the Cobra, who left behind the enormous footprints.
Mr. Hyde.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Yep. They were a team for a while there.
They sure were.
Yep. Well
Okay,
done,
good.
sir. And Muddle avoided, and no shipping to Finland for you. 1970 to 2000 DC. In Ed Brubaker's Batman issue number 582, a new villain with vision-enhancing goggles makes his first appearance. His name is Zeiss, spelled Zeiss.
I remember that character.
What island is he from?
Interesting. I'm going to say Malta.
Any guesses from the Peanut Gallery?
No, that
Is it a DC imaginary island, or is it a real island?
Real island.
Cyprus.
Sicily.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
We were in the ballpark, Murd. We were in the ballpark.
Yeah, it was Mediterranean. We were in the right sea.
Yep. And our final question, post-2000 image. In issue number 1 of Kyle Higgins and Marcelo Costa's Radiant Black, Nathan and Marshall are leaving the bar and notice a floating object that looks like a mini black hole. Nathan tries to grab a hold of it. It ends up taking over his body, giving him the Radiant Black suit. What 9-letter word appears on the page during this event? Note, the word is written in radiant, encrypted ciphertext.
Ooh.
Ah, boy. Yeah. Well, we're all going to know the answer to this pretty soon. One of these days, we're going to do a book of the month about this very series, but yeah. Gosh. Yeah, I'm going to hate myself when I hear it.
Don't hate yourself, Bird.
Gosh. I don't. It's a 9-letter word. Okay, I'm just.
Look at that forehead clasp. Oh,
Hint, it's not Albania. I just want to.
It's wrong number of letters anyway.
Yes.
But oh gosh, I-N reinstate. That's a 9-letter word.
Okay. Chris, do you happen to remember?
I do not.
Okay. The correct answer: transform.
Makes sense.
Perfect sense.
Yep. I think I actually have one of those encryptor. In order to read it, he gave out these special keychains at New York Comic Con, and I think I happen to still have one.
Cool.
Nice.
I'll have to whip that one out once I actually do read that first volume there.
Those were good questions. Good questions.
Yeah,
Yes,
Timo,
indeed.
I'm sorry. I mean, having asked a Brubaker Batman question, I'm sorry I can't give you this Brubaker hardcover as a
Indeed.
prize. But thank you for your submission. Chris is right; they were excellent questions.
And the gentleman is from Finland.
Yes, I believe so.
Magnificent country. Culturally, plus their military is badass. The Russians can tell you that.
And I know it was near the tops of the list of countries that Brian Damer wanted to move to.
Yeah. Wonderful culture.
Yep.
Alrighty. How about we open some gifts?
That sounds like an
Yes.
excellent idea.
Yeah.
Right on. I will be giving the gift opening privileges to Mr. Murdo on this evening. So,
Yep, I've actually got Ian's gift in hand here. And these are all gifts from our friend Dr. Eamon Clark overseas, by the way.
Per generous tradition.
Yep. Always sends us a little
Indeed.
something at the holiday.
and this time we open it before July. So how about
Yeah. In the first month of the year,
Yeah, I know. What a concept.
he's getting better.
More like we're actually visiting the studio every now and then.
Yeah.
Yep,
All
who's
right.
opening go first?
Yep. Shane, go ahead.
Note that vivid orange Cyberman print
Cyberman
wrapping
paper.
Very
Love it,
comfortable.
love it.
The paper is always
Shane likes to preserve
awesome.
it. Yep.
I always like watching Shane open it in particular because he does his best to try to
Yeah, he preserves it.
I really try to.
Ooh.
Judge
Wow.
Dredd. Eagle Comics presents Judge Dredd in the Doghouse.
Okay. Nice.
And it looks
Is it-
like
Is that an oversized comic?
no, it's a like a print or a
Oh.
artwork.
Yep, it's a placard or a wall hanging.
Sure.
Very cool. Nice.
Shane, make sure you put the tape on the side of the board.
Yeah.
All right, just
Yeah, there you go.
for the benefit of those not watching along with video, these are flat wrapped parcels that are about 17 inches long and 12 inches wide.
Excellent.
I'll tell you what, I can't tell.
If it's a piece of original artwork or if it's
Yeah, it sure looks like it is.
wow. Okay.
That's
Well,
especially generous.
I have a bit of context here in this card that Eamon also sent along.
Oh, there we are.
It says, for CGS and the voice of your holiday cheermaster.
Probably should have read that first.
And it's a Super Friends image here. Best wishes from your Super Friends.
Bum, ba-ba-da-da-ba-bum.
There he goes.
Happy belated Christmas and thanks for another great year of podcasts, writes Eamon. This year's presents are reimaginings of 2000 AD covers by artist Damian Edwardson of the Art92 Collective. I hope you enjoy them and they can find space on studio walls. Seasonal cheers from the galaxy's greatest comic and your British chums.
This is awesome.
Signed, Eamon.
Very cool.
Absolutely phenomenal.
All right. Chris, you want to go next?
Sure. All right. Shane, being oafish, I won't open this as carefully as you did, but I'll do my best.
I just can't help it.
Meticulous opening cues.
All right.
What we got?
We have what a great piece. 2000 AD featuring Judge Dredd. Strontium Dog. It's a dog's life and death.
Hold it directly up to the camera so you can see it. There we go. Ooh.
In orbit every
wow.
Monday.
Yeah, there's Johnny Alpha right there in the middle.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you very much. Wonderful.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Okay.
Yep, and knowing my preferences as he does, Eamon selected 2080 Prague. Oh, it's Prague 0, 30th July 2000. Well, anyway, it's DR and Quinch
Nice.
by Allens, Moore, and Davis.
Well
DR
done.
and Quinch nuke the rich.
Brilliant.
Yeah, they are. That's right. So that's for me.
Nice.
And one more.
Believe.
This one, it had your name on it, Ian, but I lost the post-it note that had your name on it. But
I'll believe it. I'll believe it.
we will know. We will know.
Exactly.
So I'm going to open this for you now, Ian, and then I'll hand it off to you in person next time we see each other.
Sounds like a plan.
And there it is.
Aha! Oh, very nice.
The boys are back in town, featuring Judge Dredd, and I think this is Judge Death here in the middle, this monstrous-looking fellow.
I never realized before just how much the Batman Who Laughs looks like Judge Death.
Yeah.
Yeah, gonna think that I never did either.
Wow. Okay.
Sure does.
That's excellent. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Eamon.
These are awesome.
Very cool. And I love how it's something so different every single time, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of thought goes into it. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Always 2000 AD related, of course, but never quite the same thing twice.
Exactly. Excellent.
Just phenomenal.
All right. And while we're on the topic of things that were sent to us, I'm just going to read this fan email real quick.
Please.
That Mr. Mark Villa sent into us right around holiday season. Was sent on December 25th. Titled A Long Overdue Fan Email. And he says as such, Dear Ian, Murd, Shane, and Chris, per the subject line, this email has been a very long time in the making, but, life and all that. I am therefore taking advantage of a bit of a break here on Christmas Day to rectify this oversight at long last. I started listening to CGS in March of either 2017 or 2018. I don't quite remember, but it was the Pants, Murd, Shane, Chris lineup at the time. I believe that's technically the gold team. I'm not entirely. At the time, I was working in the children and teens department of an independent bookstore here in Washington, D.C. area. Politics and Prose. I'm always happy to plug them. Great name.
Yeah, it sure is.
It's a fantastic store that prides itself on the knowledge of its staff, but as a consequence, I had to spend a considerable amount of time reading kids' books, which meant that comics, with the exception of kids' graphic novels, took a back seat for me for several years. But thanks to CGS, I was able to stay connected with the goings-on in the world of comics, especially with your previews and comic talk episodes. Over the years, I've tried a lot of titles simply based on your recommendations. What's more, I've really come to value the knowledge of the history of the medium that the four of you impart to one extent or another in every episode. On more than one occasion, I find myself reading up on a character that you had just done a spotlight on the previous week. I did want to give a shout out to Chris and Shane in particular. Like them, I'm a parent. Although I believe my son is younger than their kids, he just turned 13, all three of us are familiar with the struggles of holding down a full-time job and being a dad. In fact, I always envied/admired their ability to do all that and still read a goodly amount of comics. I like his use of goodly there. Like Chris, I have a backstory in history, and thus I very much appreciate his commentary from that perspective. And as a proud fellow Gen Xer, it always brings a smile to my face when he and Shane wax fondly about Transformers, G.I. Joe, or some other aspect of the magical time known as the 1980s.
Awesome.
Oh, and I'm a huge Star Trek fan too.
Oh, even better.
Not to leave anyone out, Murd's level of knowledge and scholarship in the comics medium never ceases to amaze me, and I love learning from him. as someone who enjoys public speaking and has dabbled in theater a bit, his sonorous tones and his way with words are frequently, to borrow a phrase from Chris, a tonic for the spirit. And I was so happy when Ian came on board a few years back. His production skill and ability to just keep the podcast humming along so smoothly, especially when there's a humming background noise that I don't realize until after we record, have only elevated the show even more. He's a great proverbial lead singer, the voice of CGS, and brings an amazing breadth of comics and pop culture knowledge to the show. Thank you for all the enjoyment I've gotten from CGS in these last several years. Whenever a new episode drops, you four take precedence over any other podcast or audiobook that I want to listen to at the time.
Oh, wow.
Your families all the best this holiday season, and I can't wait to hear what's in store for you in 2023. Best regards, Mark Villa.
Mark, what a wonderful letter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark.
It's a wonderful Christmas present for us.
Yeah,
Much
indeed.
Appreciated. Yep. And he's from Bethesda, Maryland.
Nice. That's not too terribly far away.
Indeed. Yep. And once again, love the name of that bookstore. I'm going to have to keep that in mind next time I'm in DC. Politics and Prose.
Well, if he's ever run into Tom King.
Yeah, right.
That's a very good question, actually. One that if he is listening to this episode, perhaps he can send us a follow-up and let us know.
Yeah.
Well, let's make him happy and talk some comics, shall we?
Moving right along and do.
Shane, you get to do any reading while you were vacationing?
So I did what you were alluding to earlier in the episode about not helping me figure out how to do it. I did it. I have purchased a certain amount of Strangers in Paradise digital copies, and I downloaded those onto the iPad, and I was starting to read the beginning of that again.
Nice.
I really have a hankering to try and get through that series again before I die.
That was the Humble Bundle that you purchased, right?
Yep.
Nice.
Yep, sure was. And I read, what was it? The Golden Age was that one shot that DC put out recently?
Yes.
The new Golden Age.
The new Golden Age. I read that. I finished Crisis. Gosh, what was it called? Dark Crisis?
Dark Crisis, yes.
I did finish that. I was reading some of the crossovers, but not all of them yet. And I'm trying to get through Human Target. I just haven't done it yet. I'm woefully behind on that now. So I have a backlog of that. I was trying to read X-Men. What was it, Chris? 75 that we were talking about a while back. And the giant size X-Men, but that's ones that wouldn't. They're the ones that wouldn't show up on the iPad.
You wanted to start the Claremont run, right?
Yep,
that was
yep. And I was going back on the plane on the fly down to Florida to kind of relax. I was reading JLA Rock of Ages just because it's familiar and calming to me. So I was reading that. So not as much new stuff as I would like, but I was trying to
Nothing wrong with old stuff. Nothing wring with old stuff.
Nothing wrong at all.
Yeah.
Well, I also dabbled with the Dark Crisis. I actually just finished it. I think yesterday. I read issue 7, and then also read Dark Crisis Big Bang and a couple of the other tie-ins that came along with it. Because as usual, I'm reading Dark Crisis, and it said, you'd know more about this if you read this Dark Crisis tie-in. I'm like, all right, fine. I'll stop the issue, read the tie-in, and then go back to where I
was. They got you.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. Because if it's all there on DC Infinite, I don't have to pay more for it. So there we go. And Dark Crisis Big Bang, in particular, that's the sort of the follow-up and setting the stage on what known universes we know from the new Infinite realm that's in front of us. As Shock of Shocks, Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths ended, there's an infinite universe again. Everything's infinite again. There's not just a multiverse. There's anything you could imagine at DC. Let's see how long it lasts. But this is the current state of DC Comics after this. And they got Mark Waid to do Dark Crisis Big Bang, where he sat down and he mapped every single known universe that he could find on a multiversal map.
Wow.
In the last couple of pages of it. The issue itself works as Barry Allen and Wallace West going to find the Anti-Monitor, as they know he's out there somewhere if there's a infinite universe that's back. And they use that as an excuse to go to as many universes as possible along the way. And they list like at least 100 different known realities that have been created either via Elseworld or via, DC history in that back there. And
Wow.
Murd, I can't wait for you to check it out and cross-reference it and see, if you forgot anything for that matter. Because it's something special, and it made the whole Dark Crisis worth it to see Mark Waid put in that effort and put that together. So good stuff.
And that was Dark Crisis Warzone, you said?
That was Dark Crisis Big Bang.
Big Bang, okay. Yeah, because there was a Warzone also.
There was a Warzone. That one actually had art by Freddie E. Williams in it.
Wow.
He does the front and the back of the issue, and it's that one. That one was actually a lot of fun because Warzones. Unless I'm actually getting them confused because there's so many freaking ones. Maybe I'm thinking of Dark Army, but anyway. Yeah, you know what? I think Warzones was the one that just told like side stories about stuff that was happening while Dark Crisis was going on. So my apologies. The Freddie E. Williams art is on Dark Crisis, the Dark Army. That was Damian Wayne bringing Dr. Light, Power Girl, the new Red Canary, and I forget the name of the universe hopper that they brought along with them too. But
Dr. Multiverse, maybe?
Not Dr. Multiverse, no. The guy who kind of looks like he's wearing a bootleg Spider-Man costume. See if I can find his name off the top of my head here. But anyway, it was them trying to go into the multiverse to fight the darkness and unravel everything that was going forward in there. And that was really good and had the Freddie Williams artwork at the front and the back of it. Along with Mark Waid, Dennis Culver, and Delia S. Dawson, and Jack Herbert did the in-between. My main problem with it is that Freddie Williams knows how to draw a child, knows how to draw Damian Wayne to look like he's like 11 or 12. Jack Herbert, good artwork, but Damian looks like he's 22. And that's one of my biggest pet peeves in comics is when you can't draw a kid right. But it is what it is. Nothing to go around that. The issue itself, the actual end of Dark Crisis, issue 7, it was an ending.
Yeah.
I just everything felt rushed. The entire series felt rushed at the end there, and it just made me wonder why they didn't just do 9 issues instead of 7.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have been enough to flesh it out and give a fuller background and story to everything that was going on.
I'll even give you, if you really didn't want 9, just do an 8th, just a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was a lot crammed into one issue. I enjoyed it, but it did feel like they were hurrying to put everything into a nice big bow. So
Yep.
When you get to it, Murd, I'd love to see your thoughts on it, but it was a lot. DC's back, and it's infinite.
All right. Well, I'm pretty sure I have that one shot at home someplace. Maybe I'll have to dig it up.
Definitely. Dark Crisis Big Bang in particular, that's the one that's going to be well worth your time. And it's Wade and Jurgens, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Wade writing with Dan Jurgens and Norm Rapmum art. That's just classic right there.
Yeah, I know I have that issue too.
Yep. Two gentlemen who know a thing or two about mapping DC's realities.
Yeah, that's
King
for sure.
of DC history and the architect of Zero Hour.
Amen. Yep, absolutely. Murd, what you been up to?
This time around for this comic talk, the newish title that I seized upon was something from neither one of the big two. It is now Miller time. Mark Miller, that is. It's
Nightclub.
Nightclub, yes, from Image Comics. First issue I just got in my DCBS shipment a little while ago. Second issue just hit shelves earlier today. It's written by Mark Miller with art by Juanan Ramirez, and it's a vampire story. It's a little bit similar to the concept of Chip Zdarsky's The All-Nighter, which was, I think, released digitally first and then collected by Dark Horse in print a little while ago. It's about a kid named Danny who lives in Philadelphia. just apropos of nothing, it's set in Philly, which usually endears a book to me a little bit right off the bat. Sure. And Danny and a couple of his high school loser friends are trying to become YouTube stunt cyclists or something. And Danny falls off of a skyscraper in an attempt to do a parkour stunt and breaks his neck and shatters his body. And he's barely clinging to life in a hospital bed when in strolls a vampire who gives him a new lease on life. Just sires him, turns him into a vampire, trying to recruit him for some as yet unspecified purpose. He's building an army of vampires for something. Mm-hmm. We haven't been told yet, but I'm sure we will be eventually. But Danny has other ideas. I mean, he's not averse to helping this guy with whatever he's planning to do. But first, he's going to go have some fun. And he decides he's going to use his new vampire abilities to go back and do what he was trying to do in the first place, just get together a bunch of YouTube sponsors and be like a social media darling or something. So that's where this thing goes. It's just 2 issues in. It's about a teenager and the hijinks he gets up to once he gains vampire superpowers. It's kind of light and frothy as vampire stories go, and particularly as Mark Miller stories go. This is nowhere near as over the top as some of the things we've read by Mark Miller. It's actually one of the tamer and more conventional Mark Miller stories I have read. But it's still a fairly fun idea. It's an easy, quick read. And if you'll notice here, you don't see it on the version of the cover that Ian has up on screen at the moment, but it's $1.99 cover price.
Yeah.
Oh,
fantastic.
Wow.
Yes, and I think they're going to do that for each of the 6 issues of this miniseries.
Wow.
Well done.
Number 1 and number 2 are both $1.99 each. Number 3 has been advertised at that price, so yeah.
Wow.
It may not be the best Mark Miller we've ever seen, but it's certainly worth the cover price.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not reinventing the wheel as far as vampire stories goes. I mean, the one character actually says it's the same rules you see in the movies, sunlight, garlic, stakes, crucifixes. And there's one part where the main character, he turns 2 of his friends and they go on, have a little vampire frolic around the city of Philadelphia. And they're riding on tops of cars about to go over one of the bridges over the Delaware River when suddenly it's like they hit an invisible wall and they get pushed off the car and they have to stay at one end of the bridge because vampires aren't allowed to cross running water.
Oh, okay.
So Miller he studied his vampire cliches and he's just using them. He's not going to apologize for them. He's not going to go out around them. He's not going to try to reinvent them. He's just throwing them in there. I mean, this story is unconventional in the motivations of its vampire characters, I guess, more so than any of the rules or the powers and strengths and weaknesses of the vampires.
Cool.
Excellent.
So, yep, it's a good little romp, and it's affordable.
Yeah.
So that's
a huge plus.
Do recommend that. And also, I've got a little shout out here that I've been meaning to give for over a month now. It's something that was sent in by one of our loyal listeners, Eric N. Bennett. It's something that he small press published himself through his Angry Bear Press. And he sent it to me specifically as the staff crisisologist. So this kind of ties into what you were saying about Dark Crisis, and in particular that Big Bang one shot with Mark Waid mapping out as many different DC parallel Earths as he could think of, because that's kind of what happens in Indiversity. Wow. Spectacular. Note the Crisis 12 homage cover here.
Yeah.
And what Eric did in putting this together, it's inspired in concept, in format, and in graphic design by the Multiversity Maps and Legends one-shot from Grant Morrison's Multiversity at DC a while ago. And it does kind of what it sounds like Mark Waid was doing also, but it does so in a format that looks a little bit more like the aforementioned Multiversity one-shot, in that it provides a little handbook style entry here for as a whole carload, like dozens and dozens of different parallel Earths, each of which represents the work of one particular small press superhero creator. Because Eric gathered together as many of his pals over at Indie Planet as would or could participate. Just like I said, dozens of them. As many different members of the small press and creator-owned superhero creator community as were able to sign on. And just got their superhero creators and the worlds they inhabit into this oversized handbook, which does have a framing sequence, which was written by Eric, with art by Fish Lee. So there is a little bit of a story here, in addition to introducing us to the colorful characters of many different independent superhero universes.
Nice.
From the sublime to the silly. There's even an Earth in here for, actually a couple of Earths in here for Big Bang comics, if you remember them from the 90s and subsequently. They started off with Caliber Press. They went to Image for a few years, and now they're self-publishing, and Eric is a friend of theirs. And Eric's got a few of his own original characters, like Steel Wolf and Tyrannus the Thunder Lord in here.
Nice.
As well. So yeah, it's interesting intro to what small press superhero creators are doing these days. It's like a who's who. It's kind of a loaded term. It's not exactly a who's who style handbook, but it is a handbook, and really colorful and interesting, and just a way to get a quick glimpse at a lot of different creator-owned superhero properties that are available these days. So if you want to check it out, I think you can go to Indie Planet and look it up there. Or you could try Googling like Angry Bear Press Indieversity. Or Eric, if you want to just jump on the CTS super group on Facebook and let people know where they could find copies of this of their own. That would be
by all
great.
means.
I recently funded or helped fund Eric Bennett's Steel Wolf Stray crossover comic over at Kickstarter. Smash and Grab. So he's adding more to the Steel Wolf story with that. Yep. And
nice.
There we are with the advertisement for it. Excellent. Well done.
So yes, thank you, Eric, for sending me that copy. I'm very happy to own it.
Absolutely. Oh, I found out who that character was. I was trying to think of Sideways.
I thought so, because you said knockoff Spider-Man costume, and I did think of Sideways, because that was from a few years ago when DC was doing kind of weird knockoff versions of different Marvel characters, and there's Sideways. So now he's got multiversal travel powers. Good.
Yes, he does. Yep. And I forgot to mention the first world that they wind up in while trying to find the source of the darkness is actually the world of JL Ape.
Oh God.
Because every comic is better with apes. That's all I'm saying.
James traumatized.
Not that one. Oh,
Words
my God,
that DC has
bad.
lived by for decades. Yeah, it wasn't the great crawl. And really, JL Ape it's not like Marvel apes.
No.
JL Ape was just a story in which JLA members were transformed into apes. It wasn't its own reality. But I guess it is now.
This is a reality where they're all apes. And clearly that's...
I'm sure I told this at some point in our history, but that when that series came out, there was Golden Eagle Comics had, of course, advertising posters, and we ended up with one of them and kept passing it around as a joke gift because it was such a bad series.
Like a pink flamingo on the
oh my God, horrible.
It's Earth 53 in the infinite multiverse now. The world where all the JLA are apes. So
is the entire world apes or just the JLA?
It appears the entire world are apes.
Okay.
Yes. It was kind of a bit destroyed when they went to it, but I think it's gotten better since then.
No, sure.
Yes. Dark Crisis, The Dark Army, Freddie Williams art, and apes. So.
Say it with us.
Well done.
That's my favorite.
Yep. I'll go into a couple of stuff that I've been reading of late. A lot of this, a bunch of this stuff hasn't even officially come out yet, but we were sent preview copies of a bunch of Image Comics stuff, and I got to read it ahead of time. One came out today, in particular, as we're recording this. Immortal Sergeant #1 out of Image Comics. That's Joe Kelly's new book, along with Ken Niamura. It's on the eve of his unwelcome retirement, Jim Sargent, a grizzled old-school detective, catches a break on a murder case that's haunted him for decades. Unfortunately, Sarge must drag his anxiety-riddled adult son, Michael, along for the ride, or risk losing the lead forever. Now, a lot of what's described there doesn't actually happen in the first issue. I'm assuming that will wind up happening in subsequent issues. This first issue is mostly said Sergeant coming to grips with the fact that he's going to be retiring, everybody in his field talking about how he's the biggest badass that's ever lived. However, now he has to, hang it up, and that's that. The artwork is very reminiscent of stuff like Axe Cop, where it's zany but gets the point across, as does the dialogue, and as does, I think, in general, the way that Joe Kelly's writing the main character here. It's pretty insane, but it's not. It's grounded while at the same time also just off the wall, which is what I expect from somebody like Joe Kelly to begin with, and I'd like to see where this series is going to go from here. And whether or not it actually pulls off a full story, but it's Joe Kelly, so I fully expect that from him. But overall, this filled my crazy kick for the month. So, Immortal Sergeant out in stores today, the first issue, and I believe they've solicited the first 3 so far. The other thing that I got to read was Almighty, issue 1 of 5. This is actually coming out in February, on February 1st. This is Edward LaRoche's new book out of Image Comics. They describe it as Mad Max Fury Road style action, and that's exactly what it is. It's post-apocalyptic. There's a woman who's being saved by this bounty hunter / savior character, while the rest of the world is in flames around them. There's these characters that believe that all this destruction was foretold and that things are just going to continue to get worse. And it might actually be a bit bleak for me. And I love Mad Max Fury Road, but this may be a bit too into the worldy even for my taste, personally. Your mileage may vary, but wasn't my favorite of the ones that I read in this particular bunch. What was a favorite, and one that you, Chris, I'm sure.
I remember reading about this one. Yeah.
Yep. Blood Tree. This is Peter Tomasi on the writing charge for this, along with Maxime Simic on the artwork. The artwork inside, I wish they had gone with a different cover, because I love Gary Frank, but you're not getting Gary Frank artwork on the inside. It's actually a lot more grounded. I'm trying to think. It's almost like Michael Lark-esque on the artwork when you actually get down to it. But it's about this detective team who are dealing with a case of this woman with wings who falls down directly in front of a parade that has like a senator, a governor, and a mayor in it, and almost causes them to crash. But one of the detectives, gets in there and stops it from happening. And there's this, this death of this winged woman, and then another winged individual shows up at a Yankee game and also goes crashing to their death. And there's more to this than meets the eye. Whether or not it's actually, actual angels, or whether there's somebody who's, convincing people to believe they're angels and getting, wings attached to them and then having them do these atrocities, is a whole other question. But this was a great first issue, and it really fully gripped me. Once again, coming out on February 1st. So it's not too.
I'll be picking that up, Ian. Thanks for the tip.
Yes, definitely do check that one out. And the other one that I read was Monarch, which is set for release on February 8th. And this is a new tale of terror and high-stakes science fiction, which hits close to home. Radney Barnes is the writer on this one, with Jason Sean Alexander. Beautiful artwork. And when I talk about people who know how to draw kids, that is 100% the case with the artwork inside of this as well. And it's about these, this group of kids who are just going about their days as school children, and then an alien apocalypse essentially happens outside their doors, and now they're in the school while it looks like all the adults around them have died due to the aliens, and now it's up to them to keep themselves alive and keep themselves running. And this is more my end of the world story than the previous, because this has at least believable kids in it, and you're not quite sure how the world around these kids is going to continue to develop and grow, but it's a really, really well-rounded story with a captivating premise and concept. So I'll give Monarch a go as well moving forward. So some stuff to look forward to.
Great tips. Thanks,
come out.
Yeah.
All Image comics and all great stuff. And that's pretty much all I've read outside of the DC stuff that I mentioned. As I finally remembered what reading was a couple days ago and went.
That last one sounds a little bit like Night of the Comet.
Okay. Yeah, good point.
Nice B grade movie from the 80s, which I love.
Rodney Barnes, of course, from Philadelphia. And writer, executive producer of HBO's Winning Time. And up-and-coming Marvel artist Alex Linz. I'm sorry, Jason Sean Alexander did the cover to it, but Alex Linz is the interior artwork. Did a damn fine job of it.
I didn't know Rodney Barnes was involved in Winning Time.
Neither did I.
Yeah.
This is what Image tells me on their website.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, Chris, over to you.
All right. Since we haven't had a comic talk in a while, I have a lot, gentlemen. So I'm going to kind of do a lightning round.
I'm going to sit back, relax, and let you do your thing, sir.
All right, let's start with a very important new book, which I previewed at the beginning of the episode on camera, which is Avengers: War Across Time by Paul Levitz and Alan Davis.
I just picked up a variant cover copy of that this afternoon.
Oh, did you read it, Murd?
I have not had a chance yet.
Okay. Has anybody else read this?
I have not. No. I'm waiting for the first issue to hit Unlimited in a few weeks.
All I'll say is it was everything I wanted and more. So, although, Murd, Mark Farmer usually inks Alan Davis, doesn't he?
Very often does, yes.
Yeah, which I think he's done this cover. He does not do the interior inks. I think Davis inks himself. Which is still great, but I must admit I missed the Mark Farmer sheen. But that's not really a complaint, just an opinion. I mean, the book is awesome. Basically, it's a tried and true time slide where Kang's involved once again. Kang, and they take you back to in between the panels, the Avengers in their early Silver Age adventures. So, and they nail each Silver Age personality perfectly, including Jan flirting with Thor and irritating Hank. Like it's all that. I mean, that they modernize it a little bit, but if you love the Avengers in the Silver Age and that history, this is essential reading. Levitz nails every character, the way they speak, their dialogue. It's right out of the 1960s.
And this is Levitz's first Marvel work, correct?
I believe so. Yes. Wow. I don't want to give away too much because none of you guys have read it, but all I would say to you and the listeners is, if you love the Avengers, if you love Marvel history, if you really appreciate these creators, I mean, it's Alan Davis drawing the Avengers, right? In the Silver Age, you got to get this book. I was so thoroughly pleased with it. So
hey, they put a corner box on the
exactly.
Cover, so that's how I know I'm gonna love it.
You know, Ian, I forgot to mention, I'm glad you, because that goes right back to the classic Silver Age corner box from the early Avengers. It's the exact same one. So it's a great tribute to that period, and I'm really looking forward to it because it's Kang, so they're playing around with history. Can't wait to see where they go with that. So that was wonderful. You guys appreciate this. I read Stargirl #1.
Nice.
Oh, the Lost
I
Children.
didn't even get to that yet either.
So it's got your boy on Knock here, Ian.
Yes, it does.
And I mean, I'm not as well versed in this history as like Murd is. I know the basics, but it's a sheer delight. First of all, seeing the Todd Knock artwork, because I always loved his work on Young Justice, as we all do. It's great to see him, and of course, John's like Stargirl is his character. So it's just a sheer delight to see him, cutting loose with that. And
Secret is basically Knock's character, and I know she shows up. So yeah,
so it's immensely fun. I haven't been following the character, any of that stuff lately, but didn't matter. I was sucked right into it. Highly recommend that as well.
And is that where the character of Red Canary first shows up? By the way, in that, because it looks like she's on the cover here.
That I can't answer.
Okay, because she showed up in that Dark Crisis one shot that I was mentioning with Damian and all that jazz. So curious where she first showed up.
And all that jazz.
So I got a bunch of trades in my last shipment. I had missed the Christopher Cantwell Obi-Wan miniseries somehow when that came out in the past year. So I read the trade, thoroughly enjoyable. So basically, it's Obi-Wan in his let's call it his cabin in Tatooine, where he's the ever vigilant sentinel watching over Luke, and you can tell it's shortly before the events of New Hope, and he's reflecting on his entire life from when he was a youngling as a Jedi. So there's 4 different stories and 4 different periods of Obi-Wan's life. Each one is gripping, captivating. The story, there's one story that he's directly inspired by Apocalypse Now, which is awesome, where Obi-Wan and Anakin have to hunt down a fellow warrior from the Clone Wars period who has gone Kurtz, like he's gone rogue. If you read Heart of Darkness and Apocalypse Now, you know what I'm referring to. And that was an especially enjoyable story. But that, if you love the Obi-Wan character, and I mean, I'm such a huge Cantwell fan, as many listeners and you guys all know, this is definitely worth reading. It's not, to me, it's not as great as his Iron Man or his Doctor Doom stuff, but still excellent Star Wars comic. So that was really fun.
Yes.
Then there's this. Then there's this. So I have been waiting for this with bated breath because I haven't been reading the digital stuff. So this is Ed Brubaker and Marcus Martin, their take on the young adult novel. It's Friday, book 2, on a cold winter's night. So again, following the adventures of Friday Fitzhugh, teen detective, and this, as he's called, the smartest boy on earth, Lancelot Jones, and their adventures solving mysteries in their hometown. There's everybody. There's Ed Brubaker and there's most of other writers. Like this book is so good, and just the sheer, the way he captures the emotion of the characters, the history of the town, the mysteries that are therein. If you love young adult books, if you love Brubaker's work, Martin's art is beautiful. I can't recommend this series enough. This is book 2. Again, I'm reading it in the print format, but
that is one of the most beautiful covers I have ever seen. It's just so well rendered.
And the I can curl hardly, my friend. And this volume ends on such a great cliffhanger. I can't wait for the next volume. But if you read when Brubaker and Martin did the Private Eye comic, which was tremendous, some years back, that was first digital and released in a beautiful hardcover. Again, it's that team again, except no substitutes. So I haven't read this yet, but I'm really excited I got it. Beautiful edition of
the same thing.
Catwoman: The Lonely City by Cliff Chang. So I didn't get I think they were prestige format issues. I remember
they were, and they were a little bit oversized.
Yeah. So I waited for the hardcover, and again, the production value alone, I'm not disappointed. I haven't started reading it yet, but it's Cliff Chang. The art, it looks stunning, and again, it's I guess we call it an Elseworld. It's a black label.
Yeah. Label.
I'll read the opening blurb. 10 years ago, the massacre known as Fool's Night claimed the lives of Batman, the Joker, Nightwing, and Commissioner Gordon, and sent Selina Kyle, the Catwoman, to prison. A decade later, Gotham has banned costume heroism and villainy. The new Gotham is cleaner, safer, and a lot less free under the watchful eye of Mayor Harvey Dent and his Bat Cops. That's enough.
It looks spectacular when I would thumb through it at a store.
So next time we have a comic talk, I'll have read it and we'll talk about it. I also got this.
It's almost like Old Man Logan meets Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah. Good point.
It's Old Lady Selina.
Yep. I'm looking forward to that. And I picked this up out of interest. I haven't read it yet, but I'm looking forward to it. So the Flashpoint Beyond story.
I have those issues.
Jeff Johns and Jeremy Adams did about the Thomas Wayne Batman in the Flashpoint world. So I don't know anything about this, but I really like that character and the way Johns handled him. So I'm looking forward to reading this story as well. So
you just reminded me that it exists, and that'll be what I read next in DC Infinite. So thank you.
Yeah.
Levy Poo. You just put some steam in my strides. Now, a lot of old stuff in the past month. I've always loved to reread old stuff or discover like new old stuff. So in December, Ryan and I did our annual trip to Pittsburgh. First and foremost, to visit our dear friend, the fabled Dan Kangilla in Pittsburgh, and also, of course, to visit Ides. Now, Murd, this one's for you. So Odds is the best selection of Tomorrow's Back. It's just probably outside of Tomorrow's itself. Comic Book Artist, the original series, number 18, February 2002. Cosmic Comics of the 70s.
Ooh.
Now,
that sure as heck looks like Starlin.
It sure does. Now, when I had the flood that ruined my basement 2 Septembers back, I had a lot of these. They were all ruined. And I saw this one, and I'm so glad that I got it again because they have a wonderful roundtable discussion with Jim Starlin, Alan Weiss, and Al Milgrom. And it's 20 years ago they had this discussion. So it's just fascinating to read it, where they were in their careers, what they're talking about, what they're reflecting back upon. There's great stuff about, Adam Warlock, Dr. Strange. They interview Frank Brunner. They interview Steve Englehart. If you love Marvel 70s, you must get this magazine. Thank you, Ian. Well done. Yes. It's chock full of great interviews, great retrospectives. Tomorrow's at its best. That's Comic Book Artist, number 18 from February 2002. Now, so I'm on a quest now, and this is for the show.
Okay.
Also at Ides. Now,
on
Baxter paper.
Wow.
So we've talked for Marvel did a series.
Micronauts Special Edition number 1.
Yes. They did a series of special editions. Thank you, Ian. I forgot to say that. Warlock was one. Micronauts another, where they reprinted on beautiful Baxter paper the first 12 issues of the classic Bill Mantlo and Michael Golden run. Now, I've talked before. We're going to do and this is an intentional pun, a micro spotlight on the original Mantlo Golden Micronauts run, and I am collecting a set of each of these for all of you, because you can't. I don't think you can get these online because Marvel doesn't have the rights to them anymore. So there's 4 issues. There's 4 special editions. I'm assembling 4 sets over time. I'll get one set to each of you fellas. We'll read them and then we'll discuss them, because as far as late 70s comics go, these are awesome. Like, basically, Bill Mantlo took this toy line and he breathed an entire world into it, essentially.
And I know I'd never read any of them.
Yeah, and the Michael Golden artwork is just stunning. So talk about taking a property and just giving it so much more mileage than it deserved. And Mantlo did the same thing with Rom too, around the same time. So we'll talk about that in the future once I've finished assembling, when I can find them. All 4 issues. So there's that. Now,
that's something to look forward to.
You bet, buddy. Now, last week I had to take my beloved dog Bailey to to try out like a new place to board her. And I had some time to kill. I was near Teaneck, New Jersey. I always like to look for new comic shops I've never been to. Sure. I found a shop called A&S Comics in Teaneck, New Jersey. Nice shop, a lot of good back issues. Murd, also for you. Right. I went in their 50-cent bin, and let me tell you about the treasures I discovered therein. I couldn't believe they're only 50 cents. Prez.
Wow.
2, 3, and 4. Now, wait a minute. What's better than the legless vampire on the wooden scooter threatening our hero, the president? So, this is about as kooky bronze. We've talked about the Prez many times.
Oh, yes.
Done episodes on the Prez. Murd is costumed as the Prez.
I have.
So, I mean, I've read these in the past. I'm looking forward to reading them again because they're so off the wall ridiculous that, magnificent.
Episode 526 from October 13th, 2008 was our Politics and Comics.
The famous
episode.
And Comics.
Yep, and we then re-released it as a classic Geek Speak, so it is available on the YouTube and more recently on the feed.
And I think when Murd and I guest started Back to the Bins one year, we talked about the magnificent Brubaker, Eric Shanauer, Prez.
Oh, right. Smells like Teen President.
Which is excellent.
Vertigo Visions.
Yes, well done. So, whenever you bring up that Politics of Comics, all I remember with just such sheer delight is Peter talking with Rhapsody about the Groove Room in the White House. Amazing. Also from A&S, they had some nice trades on sale. I'm so happy to get this. I haven't owned it in years. JLA Earth 2, the hardcover.
Oh, I love that.
Fantastic.
I haven't read in a long time, so looking forward to reading this again by Morrison and Quietly, a classic. Yeah. Very excited about that. Also picked up, these might have been in Pittsburgh, actually. I only have one in front of me, but Gotham Central volumes 3 and 4. So I've read this whole series. I had the omnibus was ruined in that flood. I'm recollecting them now in trade. to me, this is one of the great DC titles of the early 21st century. This is it's Greg Rucka, Michael Lark. I think Ed Brubaker was involved in it at some point well. Magnificent police procedurals involving, Montoya, Bullock, Batman. Have you guys all read this title?
No.
I've read parts of it. I've never read the full thing.
Okay.
Same. I've read the first trade, I think, and I must read more.
Yeah, I don't use the term lightly. It's a masterpiece, and the storyline where the Joker is terrorizing the city as a sniper is phenomenal, especially. So thrilled to get that. I've also been trying to gather up trades that were destroyed in the flood that I want to own again. I found this online for very cheap. Star Wars Empire,
Nice.
Volume 3, The Imperial Perspective.
Okay.
The 4 stories in here, and I've cherished this trade for years. I'm so happy to get it again. Some of the best Star Wars stories I've ever read in comic book form. They're all from the Imperial perspective, as the title goes. Ron Mars has a great Darth Vader story in here. For example, there's a wonderful story just about regular stormtroopers and their officers trying to tame a world they're trying to control. It's a bird's eye view from the battlefield in a sense. These are great Star Wars comics. I thought that whole Empire series was fantastic, actually.
Just a quick note: they are available on Marvel Unlimited. All 40 issues of Star Wars.
Oh, terrific!
Are there, so anybody who has the membership will be able to read them there.
And they have the accompanying Rebellion series as well,
Yep.
which I also enjoy. But I enjoyed Empire even more. So that's great. I don't have it in front of me. When I went to Ides, I also picked up because they have a great selection in Ides of trades that are discounted. The Spirit Volume 2 hardcover by Darwin Cook.
Oh,
now
fantastic read.
That series, I think, is another modern classic. It's in 2 hardcovers now, I believe. Well, it was, and I again, both were destroyed. They had Volume 2, which I grabbed, which I think has the fantastic Batman crossover storyline in it as well. So I think the Spirit stuff for me is some of the best stuff Darwin Cook did in his entire career.
It was a lot of fun.
The art is stunning. He goes right to the essence of the characters in that world. If you love Will Eisner's Spirit, I think these are very reverent sort of sequel or homage to them.
Yeah.
So I can't recommend that enough. Tomorrow's again in my latest shipment, Alter Ego number 179.
Nice.
Okay.
Look at that Kirby Submariner.
Yeah.
So celebrating the Fantastic Four 61st anniversary because we sure blew their 60th and Stan Lee's 100th birthday.
Yes.
So this issue is chock full of great stuff on early FF. Roy Thomas has a wonderful article where he actually prints emails he and Stan Lee exchanged for years, just about their private lives, businesses they were doing, work they were doing together. Again, it's tomorrow. It's just nobody does it better when it comes to these wonderful tributes to the history of the medium that we all love. So I'm still working through that. That's a great issue.
Roy Thomas's fantastically forgetful comics fanzine. Reads the banner.
Great.
So, and it's incredible that Stan died in 2018, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Hard to believe it's been that long already.
Yeah. Time is moving quickly.
Yep.
That's what's coming to mind. I mean, again, I'm always reading a lot of other stuff that's ongoing. Again, I have to emphasize for the readers because they're just that good. Nightwing and the Human Target.
Yes.
There really is. I just read the latest issue of Human Target. I think it was number 10.
10 featuring
10.
Nort.
Yes. Well done, Mert.
Nort.
Yes. Yeah, Gnort is amazing in it. But I think it's the best thing Tom King's done in his career. And that's really, really saying something.
Okay.
So when that's titled, because that title is it's going to be a 12-issue run. I can't wait to discuss it when we've all read it and we finished it in the months to come.
I had been waiting. I've been waiting for a hardcover, but I may just bite the bullet and read it on Infinite.
Well, they have a hardcover of the first 6, which of course I got, even though I didn't need to.
Not doing it.
And I lent that to Danielle to read. Then go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. You mentioning that, I promise you it's related because Mert and I mentioned it on our previews episode. They're re-releasing our favorite Chip Zdarsky Spider-Man with the annual included in the trade.
Oh, wow.
So I'm trying to decide.
Damn it! Now I have to buy it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, I already have the trade.
Excuse now.
Do I sell my existing trade and rebuy it with the annual included? Because that's where I'm thinking. Because
Yeah.
Spider-Man Life Story, it will be a complete Spider-Man Life Story if it also has the annual
got us.
Jonah Jameson in it.
It's too good. They got us.
Yep.
Last two things I'll mention. This is excellent. Namor the Samaritan, the Conquered Shores.
Oh, more Cantwell, yeah.
Yeah, by Cantwell again. So I think I mentioned this last time. It's a far future where most of the heroes went off into space to defend the Earth. They vanished. And the Atlanteans now basically control everything. And what's left of the surface world is kind of living. Some of them are on the surface. Some of them are like in this like underwater, like air breathing place that the Atlanteans allowed them to live in. And like Luke Cage is one of the surface world leaders. Steve Rogers is still there. Everybody else is gone. And it's Namor as an older man. And they're actually emphasizing that he is older, even though he's almost immortal. And he's thinking back on his past and the weight of that. It's really well done. Because the Samaritan, as we've discussed many times, is such a complex character and there's so many facets to the character and its history. And Cantwell's really feeding into that beautifully. The other thing I mentioned, another Samaritan thing, my last thing I'll talk about, I picked up, I don't have it in front of me, but from that King is Black or Black is King, whatever that was a couple of years ago.
Oh, the King in Black.
King in Black, thank you. Who cares about that? But what matters is Kurt Busiek
Oh, yeah.
wrote a Submariner story. Which I got the trade because I missed this. I got to read it. It's Busiek.
Yes,
And you're especially going to love this because he ties it into to that whatever crossover. What's most important is most of the story is in the past.
Set in the 20s in Namor's youth.
Yes, and it goes to when Atlantis is in near Antarctica, and it's Busiek's all the history. So Thakor, Fen, Dorma. There's a young Atuma. There's the warlord Krang. And it's them. It's a young Namor with his companions, dealing with this threat, which I won't get into, not to spoil it. Which of course is then tied into. There's a cover, yep, to the King is Black. What's going on in the present? What Busiek does beautifully is he also takes you to the current Namor, who's dealing with this threat, which is related to what happened in the past. And you see Namor with the weight of the years and loss because Dorma's gone, his family, everybody's dead. Basically, and he's reflecting on that. Really well done. And if you love the history of the Submariner, and if you want to see Busiek writing on that history,
oh yeah,
this is essential reading. So that's my field report for this month, gentlemen.
Oh,
Wow.
That's a good
Excellent
diamond
stuff, Chris.
Yeah. Yep. I would have completely missed that this story existed.
I almost missed it completely if I hadn't noticed I missed the issues. I just happened to see the trade and previews.
Yeah.
So.
See, I was collecting it month to month, but I don't think I ever quite got the final issue. Because Golden Eagle has a way of under-ordering later issues of tie-in miniseries like
Murray, when I see you in the near future, I'll be happy to let them trade you if you like.
Oh, well, thank you, sir.
Yeah, I also came dangerously close to buying Catwoman Lonely City when I was at Forbidden Planet a week or two ago, and decided to wait to get it online instead for a couple of bucks cheaper.
Or Ian, when you see me soon, I can lend you the hardcover.
I want this on my shelf for a long time.
All right, because the hardcover is a beautiful presentation.
Oh, yeah, it absolutely is. And there's also a alternate cover that's only available to the direct market, which is just as pretty. Let me bring it up here on InStock Trades as I was looking. While the main motif of the regular market cover is more of a gold hue, this one's entirely bathed in purples and blues. So personal preference, I actually prefer the other one, but this is just as gorgeous in its own way.
And I should note that one year in my shop when we were doing the free comic book day sale, Cliff Chang was gracious enough to come as a guest.
Oh, nice.
And he was a wonderful guest, and
Nice.
he did some sketches, some drawings on my back issue, wooden holders, and wonderful.
Very cool.
Yeah, after fingering through those issues in various comic stores, that's when I decided I was going to get the trade for the hardback.
We'll discuss it.
I just remembered why I was at Forbidden Planet. It was because I was killing time. I went to see a parody musical called Titanic.
Oh, jeez.
A parody of James Cameron's Titanic, where the lead character is Celine Dion. And Celine Dion is telling the story about how when she was on the Titanic.
Well, do they both get on the piece of furniture at the end, or no?
They try to, and of course, you know, no, it's not big enough. Oh no, but I think I could probably fit. No, it's not big enough for you.
Yeah.
It is the most fun I've had in a musical in recent memory. It's off Broadway. It's at a theater in Union Square in Manhattan, and Titanic, spelled Q-U-E at the end, is just a great time. It just got extended till May. Anybody who would have a chance to see it should go see it. All right, I think that's just about everything on our.
We shot our bolt.
Yeah.
Yep. Job well done, gentlemen, as always. So we will have more comics to talk about next time. But until then,
I love when you get all sleazy like that. That was great.
Until then, we once again thank you, the listeners, at patreon.com/comicgeekspeak. We thank you so much for every single bit of support you could possibly give to us. You are the folks that make sure that these episodes can continue to come out in speedy fashion. And we've got some upcoming episodes in the pipeline that I'm sure you're going to thoroughly enjoy. And some stuff that I can't wait to get to, because eventually Book of the Month will happen.
Yes.
Eventually. We've got some introducings that we might be throwing out there. We've got some micro spotlights that may happen eventually.
More retro movie reviews.
We're about
due for a top 5 at some point.
Yes.
Yes, actually. You're really, really right about that. And
and a trip for 2 aboard the Time Bubble.
Ooh,
Nice.
Yes, because somebody's not working nonstop anymore. So maybe perhaps we can make some magic happen. All right. Well done. I wonder who that second person is. Would he be stroking his beard at this very moment? We shall.
Wow. This is Uber Levenstein. Holy mackerel.
Indeed. All right. And we get Shane to be Shane tonight. So, Shane, go ahead and take it away.
It's always good when Shane gets to be Shane. Versus dipshit. Visit us at comicgeekspeak.com. To send us an email, the address is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. To leave us a voicemail, the number is 267-702-6642. Stop by thecomicforums.vanillacommunity.com. Look us up on YouTube at youtube.com/comicgeekspeak. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, send in your muddle the merds. If Ian says we're low, we're low. We need them for future muddling of the murdereds. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.
Now, R2, don't use language like that.